Um, yeah, that's. I mean, I think I've said it on other teams as well. But if you try and go toe to toe on fundamentals on a clean macro game, it's not gonna happen. I feel like you're gonna have to make a difference on early and try and snowball it, because the level that they match, the tempo that they create for themselves, it's extremely hard to exploit.
Totally agree, totally get it. And we are already in draft actually, so maybe we can see a draft that will help Kaufland Hangry Knights to win this one. The first bands are already there, and Temporal looks a little bit confused. What is going through your
I'm
mind?
so confused. The pick of the series was going to be Pantheon, and it's been banned on blue. The Hangry Knights must have a set plan for how to manage their shared champion pool now. Ratones are always going to be forced to ban Jinjar. Rabble is different on this pick. Unless the Hangry Knights were hoping that it slipped through, I hope they really have a great plan here, because if they give over just one too many strong champions to the red side of Lost Returns, it's a difficult situation to revisit that draft in Fearless in Game 2.
Yeah, and that is kind of the road you can pick when you feel so threatened by an intimidating team like Los Ratones. You can just flip the script and be like, all right, we're going to go full scaling. We're going to turtle. We're going to give up. We're going to trade around the map and see if we can, in the chaos of a big 5v5, see if we can just out team fight them.
That's a risky strategy for sure. If I was
Yeah,
to sort of pin the
agree.
Hangry Knights with something here, it's go fast, go furious. Get them before the clutch factor has chance to get a team fight or two through.
I would agree with that as well, but I think that the Azir, you're gonna have to get a significant early lead to really have that power spike before, let's say, 25 minutes, right? And I'm not sure if Nemesis is the type of person to allow that to happen.
I feel like
Okay.
talking about strong champions, we saw the Nafiri today already. Still a pretty strong pick, and now with the first rotation kind of done, Temporal, what do you think should the bands look like now?
Interestingly, I think the Hangry Knights have showed their hand in that they have picked the Rumble, something Baus has historically refused to play against, to the point of it had to draw a single ban in many, many of the winter series from Lost Returns. Sort of every game just could not let it through. And I think that is what the Hangry Knights were hoping Returns were going to ban on 3. Whether you'd take it over a Varus and whether that was a sign it was going to fall apart is another thing. So let's see if the Lost Returns can show even greater improvement from Winter and send this Galio to the top lane with a modicum of success.
Yeah, it is a threat to have on the Galileo, but it's a shoe-in, right, to put it against the Rumble, and let's give it a
Oh,
95% chance of
you'd
that happening.
you'd be right if
However,
this was Embarrass, who just would somehow lose that unlosable lane, get upset, be like, I can't be in combat with this guy. It was awful
however,
to watch.
Camille is still open. What a glorious setup that would be. And I mean, give it 3%, but you got to
Yeah,
throw it out there whenever Galio is picked up.
I'm excited. That's all right. Let's see if it's a flex.
I believed Nord would lose against the Benelux, so I can believe Camille can be picked here. It's
I
Oh,
like the way you
well,
think.
there's optimism. That's suitably optimistic. Lots of bans thrown towards Yasko. Not surprised. The guy's been in and out of LEC plenty of times over his career. After a bit of a slower few splits, coming back to EMEA Masters after some real deep runs is really nice to see. And I like what we're talking about Camille, because Galio Corki is a pretty nice lane setup as well. So let's see what the Hangry Knights get to fold this out with. We got mid lane as sort of this big wombo combo with the Wukong. Let's see some payoff from the bottom lane. They haven't got the Nautilus, but doubtless the Alistair in the back of Yarnan's mind right now, and maybe a lane that can survive on its own while it goes to Rome.
Yeah, and with an Ezreal locked in, you're just kind of self-sufficient for a while. And then the Fury can set up the dives with Nemesis Galio. My bad. Apologies on that one. But you're gonna have to get something like an Alistair to pressure those side lanes, get random ahead, see if you can snowball it from there, because an Azir could be the way forward, could be the breaking iron they need to wiggle their way to a win.
This could be the Flex Galio. It's still unlikely, as it is a pretty decent way through the Rumble. Thinking about support, We could be leaning towards a Leona here. A Braum also in the melee versus melee. The Alistair moves forwards, immediately takes the passive, and the ensuing trade gets pretty difficult for
It
the
is
American.
difficult, but it's not the highest value Braum you could have gotten for yourself, I feel like. And it is fearless, and we might be heavy on the copium, but the Braum, it feels like such a neutralizer, like the Gragas used to be in top lane, right? The fact that they are spending it right now on a comp where it's not getting as much value as it would against the MF, which is still open, right? Might leave some gaps for game 2, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, like we'll keep it in mind for Fortune. I think you just throw the R as the engage, the Wombo comes through from the Hangry Knights, and the mitigation's plenty. I think that's enough.
There's less confusion in your mind, Temporal, than at the beginning of this draft.
Yeah, more confidence as well. I was not expecting Lost Returns to be like, yeah, we'll take the Galio, we'll do that. I was expecting, a little more like we have to accommodate Baus. We have to make sure he's drafted around, even when the opponent throws bans at him. Not the case.
Yeah, what I'm really afraid of as a watcher from the outside, it's gonna be so tough to get onto the objective, right, from blue side. When you're fighting into a Braum, and you're fighting into the Neferi that can just collapse on you, it feels really, really tricky to set up that perfect engage from Kaufland.
We're gonna see how they will do, and I want to toss to our customer because I really, really want to know what Mila's gonna say about this draft, about this game, everything. So I'll just give her the floor, and of course Boxer as well. You guys have some fun again.
Give me the floor. No one cares about Bloxer. He's not cheering for the right region. It doesn't matter. No, of course. Thank you so much, of course, to the analyst desk. I did hear me being called a small streamer. Noted, temporal. Okay, noted. Look, I just said it in the chat, and I'm gonna say it again. I feel like this is a comfort draft to some extent from Kaufland. I think we have some of the picks that they have historically played a lot and also played very well. Wisdom, extremely comfortable on this Alistair. Jaskla, super comfortable on the Ezreal. We do have something with potential, like carry potential for Venur in top lane. But for us, who we have been watching most is probably Rebel and Random to kind of take over the game at some point. So that would be my take on the Kaufland draft here. What's your thoughts, obviously coming in as the NLC representative, if you want it that way? How do you feel about what the Rats have drafted here?
I think it's looking pretty good, right? This is the sort of pick composition that Los Ratones have been able to play incredibly well for themselves recently. And I think they've been able to grab a ton of really high priority picks, right? The Neferi is one we've got to talk about. It's been so strong recently. Velia has looked brilliant on it as well. And the fact that they are able to pick it up pretty easily during the early stages of this draft without really having to worry about it too much surprises me quite heavily. I think it pairs incredibly well with something like the Ari that can roam around by itself. And then the fact that you've also got yourself that Galio, it makes these roam plays so strong right here for Los Ratones. The bot lane could turn into an absolute mess if you want to go play around there. You can look for picks into the mid lane, into the top lane as well if you want, but I think these skirmishes are where you're really going to be looking to use the power of this composition. I like what Los Ratones have, but I really can't say that I dislike anything the Kaufland have. I agree, I like the look of the composition. We were talking about it, right? With the Rumble, with the Wukong and with the Azir, we're like, okay, cool. They're looking for a wombo combo comp. Maybe they grab the MF, but instead they pulled it back a little bit with the Ezreal, much safer, and I think it's going to give them a much easier time of it playing around either these skirmishes or the big team fights later on.
The question that I have is a little bit of like, where does the scaling potential lie? Because I would say Los Ratones is definitely better draft in the long run. I fear Kaufland want to end this one rather sooner than later,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the Neferi, right, you've got so much power. Once you get that level 6, that's when you're in a really good position to just be going for constant ganks, constantly trying to find fights. And when you've got yourself the Galio, the Braum, the Ari, the pick potential is right there. You can really play this game very snappy. Once you get into the later stages, though, right, you are absolutely correct that there's going to be a ton of available damage coming through. I think the only thing to temper that with is the fact that Wukong can begin to fall off later on into the game. He's in a decent spot at the moment in the meta where he can build himself tanky enough to be useful, but if you find yourself with a really minor lead, if anything, for Kaufland, that's where it's a little bit risky trying to play this Wukong in the later stages.
In case you're wondering, chat, of course, there is a minor delay going on right now. Apparently, someone had some technical issues. There may or may not be a PC that needs some restarting, but they are working on it, obviously, behind the scenes. So, no biggie, we're going into the game as soon as we can. But that gives me some time to show you my beautiful jersey that I'm wearing. Look. Surprisingly, it
Zero
has
bias.
similar. It has similar colors as the Kaufland Hangry jersey. That's so crazy. I wonder why that is. Where's your
I
Los
feel like I'm
Ratones?
underdressed. I don't have one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like a
I
you
know.
problem, to be honest.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Look, I can easily send you a Kaufland Hangry Knights jersey if you want one.
Okay,
Don't worry about that. I can make that happen for you. It's no biggie.
I feel like I'd be taken out back and disposed of if I do that one. I've got to be representing the region at the moment, you know? And hey, what a time to be an NLC fan. We just get to see Nord dismantle their opponents. They looked really good in that matchup. Now we're hopefully going to see the exact same thing out of Los Ratones. I'm hoping for 2 quick games. You know, we can go get dinner afterwards. It's chilling.
Okay, sure. Anyways, Prime League has been looking really good as well because we have had 2 2-0s actually. Big yesterday, obviously winning against Los Heretics. It was, well, I don't want to say it was one-sided, but it was also not super hard. They had their little throwy moments, but that's a very big thing to do. And then we, of course, have CGN in the tournament as well, and they completely stomped their opponents away. No breathing room at all. So Prime League has been looking decent. I'm just gonna put it out there. And well, let's see what's happening in this one. To be honest, I think it's crazy to look at these player names, right? Like, of course, Los Ratones, we've talked about a bunch of times. Those are incredible players, individual players. On the side of Kaufland, you do have someone like Jeskla who has a lot of, you know, experience. You have Wisdom, who's been around for a long time, especially in the Prime League scene. You do have Random, who has been across all of Europe, has played here and there. He spent some time in the LVP as well as Rebel, of course. And Venur may be one of the more consistent players in this team. What matchup do you think is going to be most interesting? Who are you looking at the most? Maybe on Los Ratones or even on Kaufland, if you have any take on that?
I think when we're looking at interesting matchups, mid lane you can kind of ignore it just in the way that the meta is at the moment. Mid laners just are boring for the most part. As much as Nemesis has been a brilliant part in the individual lane, whilst the laning phase is happening, it feels like most mid laners at the moment are just about chilling, allowing the lane to happen, and then go play around these team fights, around these skirmishes. That's where they're really looking towards. I would love to say that I think top lane is going to be the most interesting matchup to look at, but Bowser's picked himself up the Galio, which is a champion that's very much about absorbing pressure. We'll see if Vanille can obviously pick himself up a little bit of extra pressure. There's a possibility here with this Rumble. I think what it comes down to really is going to be the bot lane. I think that's somewhere that these junglers could look to get involved in as well. We do know that Los Ratones, they like a little bit of a dive if they can potentially look for something like that, but then also, even if these individual lanes are not that explosive, what I'm excited for is the skirmishing, because that's where this Kaufland roster really comes online. And then for Los Ratones, it's about finding the picks before you get to the skirmish.
Absolutely. And with that, we're actually going into the game. Finally, it's time for a second series of the day. The Kaufland Hangry Knights from Prime League facing off against Los Ratones, the current EMEA Masters champions. And I love how you say that, mid lane probably not going to happen a lot. Maybe Nemesis is a boring player, quote unquote. I'm just saying what you said.
That's not the words that I said.
But Random is probably the least boring mid laner you can ask for, because he will lose his flash at level 1s and, you know, it's gonna be fine. He's the one going for 50-50 plays at all times, because he said in an interview to us, he's not afraid to die. He rather wants to go in and die and make something happen than to just stand back and wait for something that's not gonna come. So let's see if that mid lane is actually going to be that boring, or if we're getting some action here.
Hey, I'd love to see the mid laners be incredibly exciting, and I think if you've got a little bit of willingness to die for the team, what better champion to pick up for yourself than the Azir? We've seen it so much recently. The Azir, with an iffy win rate, still so many awesome plays that you can get out of this champion. As, hang on, Velia immediately going to make Rebel uncomfortable. I think he's going to be able to get away with this one, but still, oh, we missed the smite!
Yeah, that's unlucky. But I don't think Rebel wants to step over the wall again. He's maybe looking for it to go in and actually stop the They're both flashing! That is ridiculous, but exactly what I want to see here. This is exactly what I want.
There you
100%.
go. Hey, you're still losing a ton of your jungle right here. This isn't great for Rabble, the fact that you have to blow the flash for this one to happen, but Velia also have the flash. And now you've got yourself into just a really uncomfortable position. Still, it's for the style points. Not having your Gromp taken away in that situation. It's about standing on business. You can't allow that one to be taken. You still got the bot side of your jungle to be able to clear towards as Rabble, but you might also want to go and steal a couple of camps away from your opponents if you feel like you've got enough of a chance, but he doesn't really have any pushing lanes that he can super rely on to come and join him if he does push up into the Los Ratones jungle.
I was just about to say, how is Baus already in the proxy? But he actually wasn't in proxy so much. He was looking for a way out rather, so it's fine. I was getting confused there for a second, but explosive early game from both of these junglers. I would say both of them do enjoy some carry jungles. I think Rebel also a player that can go on a tank jungler here and there, but he seems to be a lot more comfortable as well on the carry junglers, which is something I expect to be very contested throughout the entire series, because I would say Velia probably kind of the same when it comes to that playstyle.
Yeah, likes to be pretty aggressive with this one. Really likes to play around his top side of the map as well, so we'll see if that's going to come true, because at the moment, right now, clearing on towards the bottom side of the map. The side of the map that we did highlight as a potential option for these junglers to get involved in if they want to. There are going to be plenty of skirmishes available. Obviously, we've got a little while until anything people are particularly going to fight over. Minute until the first Drake. We don't usually see too much fighting around that initial Drake. But to be honest, if you do have good pushing mids and bot lane right here for Kaufland, there is a chance.
Well, let's see. I gotta admit, I'm a little nervous. They have come in here as the 3rd seed, so their Prime League split hasn't gone exactly how they planned it to be, but it was way better than Winter, because if you were here in Winter, you're right, they weren't. So
yeah,
definitely proving grounds for them as well, as Velia is looking to contest for his own chickens just a little bit as Nemesis, finding a very nice charm onto Random. This is the point where Random usually would like to lose his flash, but in this case, he seems to have a different plan. Random actually, you know, trying to beat the allegations and not using his flash at all. You know, I'm not sure that was good, but you go King if that's what you want to do.
Velia also going to be able to take away that Scuttle Crab. Yeah, unfortunately, Random deciding not to lose his flash, instead losing his life. And all for a couple of chickens right here for Rabble. Not exactly what you want to be seeing, and exactly what you want if you are a Los Ratones fan. The fact that Baus picks up the kill initially, not ideal. Obviously, Baus one of the best carries that we've got in the NLC, but you very much would have liked to have picked up that kill here onto Nemesis, or I think specifically onto Velia. Getting the early kills over onto the Neferi really helps you play this champion in the later stages. But Los Ratones really proving that they're happy to just roam people around as much as they are over in the NLC.
I really wonder how this is going to go, because I would say Kaufland also has this weird ability to throw games even if they find themselves in a better position. We have something called the throw-o-meter whenever we co-stream for them.
Okay.
Because, you know, sometimes they have some oopsies. And oopsies are definitely not what you need today, because Los Ratones is obviously favored to make it out of this group. We just saw Barca actually turning it around, as we can see a possible dive. A very nice equalizer coming out, but the taunt on Venur is there. But in the end, Rebel actually able to help his top laner pick up that kill. Very important for Venur, who also can take over a carry personality in this team, especially in the later stages, especially with a champion like the Rumble.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? As much as having a kill go down against Baus is, you know, he dies quite a lot. He's died a little bit less in the NLC this split, but it's still his thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're giving a kill over to a Rumble, and a Rumble in a composition where you should be able to lock people down on top of that equalizer pretty easily. You can use Wisdom just going in with the basic Alistair combo. You've got Random and Rebel who can both fly into the backline and keep people locked down. And so giving these early kills over to the Rumble going to be a key win condition.
And Wisdom is here. I love how Wisdom is just like, you know, people say it's not a champion early on, but it is a champion for me. But he has to be a bit careful as Velia's on the chase. Now he has the little doggos to support him. It's the hot dog skin. Everyone playing the flippin' hot dog skin as he goes over the wall, and now they can turn their sights toward this Drake, with bot lane being relatively pushed in. It doesn't look as if Kaufland can actually go to contest this, as we get some more top lane action. This might be actually the most exciting lane to look at. No equalizer for Venur, so he has to...
Yeah, but he just does damage anyway.
Oh my god!
Yep.
I love
there
that.
You go. There
That's
you go.
my top laner, chat. I know you have your Bausi, but I have my Venur.
They're not going to pick up that solo bowler right there, and that's the thing. We talked about it, how the Rumble can be so strong. Rabble once again looking to get himself caught out on enemy chickens, immediately charmed up big damage.
He can use the clone to make it out alive, thankfully, but now Random has to pull out the Empress Divide in order to save himself and his jungler. That was a big investment for some chickens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the world's
you get
biggest
Nemi's
chicken
flash.
nugget fan, but still, is that worth it?
I'm not sure why Nemi decided to flash for that one. I think he thought he just had enough damage with the pullback right there, but he didn't. Not really even that close. The Order of Deception really doesn't deal that much at this point into the game. He's only got himself one lost chapter and a Dark Seal at this point in the game. So he loses his flash really for nothing. Obviously not going to be the end of the world for the Ahri. You've always got a survivability through that ulti, but it's just that extra level of comfort for your opponents, where they don't have to worry about getting flash charmed all of a sudden. And with a couple of big objectives coming up in the next few minutes, that could potentially be impactful. We'll have to track that one through. Speaking of, the grubs are going to be available. Right now, Battle's potentially getting caught, but Velia is in the area.
Yeah, Velia kind of looking for it, so is Rebel. Rebel has to find a way over the wall, Equalizer landing, but he takes the hero's entrance to make a hero's exit, but in the end, he goes down anyway. Speed of Warfare secured for the Hangry Knights, while Random and Nemesis are also trying to get something done. Not sure what it is. They're very split off from the rest of the fight. Is Velia still looking to contest these grubs? But Rebel should be able to maybe pick up one. Has to be careful now.
Wow,
All of the
Velia.
pack used, and Rebel has to flash. Velia doing a great job here at trying to keep it even and trying to look towards these objectives in the end. None of them should be able to really pick this up for now, but he seems to be moving in again over the wall from behind. And now it's Velia's grubs to take. I don't think Random can do a lot here in order to contest this. Might be able to force him out for now.
Yeah, I mean, you're
I
pretty
think
low
Velia
right
just
here,
waits to go
Velia.
back in.
Yeah, you can keep trying to play this one around, because it just doesn't feel like Kaufland want to full commit to this objective. Like, you're in a much stronger position than your opponents at this point if you can get everybody in the lanes at the same time, but because Baus is constantly playing with odd wave timings, it's making it difficult for Venor to be able to step over. Rabble is constantly getting poked out by the very skirmish-heavy Neferi, was able to pick up the first two of the grubs. It should at least... Oh no, just one of the grubs, so Kaufland should be able to grab themselves two of these. It's going to be a small advantage right here, and exactly what you're looking for when you've got a composition that can scale so very well like this one can.
It is intense already. I love it. I think coming in as definitely underdog in this scenario, you do have to force these early fights. You have to force these early picks. Kaufland, they are on a bit of a timer here, with Crowny obviously scaling really well and Velia becoming stronger and stronger, especially once he gets a few kills on the board for himself as well. Reckless on the roam. They have swapped their bot lane upstairs. So we do have a little bit of a different lane assignment now, as Venur has to play into Crowny and Reckless, whilst Jaskla left alone because Wisdom loves to go on a roam, has to face off against Baus.
Potential dive option right here. You can see multiple members right here of Kaufland closing in around Baus. He's pretty tanky. We've seen him use the hero's entrance to get away.
Wow, that just tickled him. But in the end, he has to be a little careful. There's just a few too many members under your turret right there, as Wisdom has to tank it, but it's an important kill for Jaskla. But they're looking to do the cross-map play, as the Equalizer has already been used on the wave here. The wave therefore very, very thin. Now Reckless moving in, all of the pack. Venur, no chance to leave, has no flash, has no ult, has only one way out, and that's death. Therefore they managed to pick up a plating.
Yeah, without the wave, all of a sudden, you're not going to be able to push this one through anywhere near as quickly, whereas you see right here, Jessica, Random, Wisdom, they're able to pick themselves up a ton of plating. Gold into their back pocket. Baus looking to turn this one back around, but he is in a 2v1, still not that tanky right here. Takes a huge chunk of damage already, and he doesn't have any of his friends in the area to help him out either. He might just lose this tower straight up in his face. Jessica respects it at least, doesn't necessarily know where the remaining members are, doesn't know if Velia could be in the area. Now he's spotted out, but still, that really hurts for Baus.
100%, especially because he has been struggling a little bit in the laning matchup against Venur already, and now with Jaskla and Rebel spending so much time on bullying him, it's gonna be harder. But I also feel like, at least for Baus, that's a bit of his comfort zone, if you want to put it that way. I always feel like he's one of the
he's
players that can lose out in early game, but he's always going to have some relevance. He is a split push monster for sure. And that is something Kaufland will have to match at some point, depending on how it's going to go for them, as Los Ratones are in a better position here to move towards the second Drake. And there's nothing Kaufland want to do about that as of right now. So second Drake over to Los Ratones as well. And they start their dragon stacking relatively early and should be quite happy about that.
Absolutely. As much as we talked about wanting to get ahead in the early game for Los Ratones, needing to get this Neferi a couple of kills, getting this Drake stacking through is also going to be incredibly important. When your opponent's composition scales as well as Kaufland's does, you don't want to be giving them over those early Drakes. Otherwise, the early soul threatening, exactly when their composition comes online with a couple of items under their back pocket, is going to be a real risk. I like the fact they've been able to pick up the first two for themselves right here. The fact that it's also going to be a Cloud Rift, I think really helps out Los Ratones if they can grab it. You love to be moving at an extra clip on quite a few of these champions right here for the Rats. So overall, things working out pretty well for them. They are in a small gold deficit, right? It's about 700 gold also over to Kaufland, but they haven't really been able to extend that advantage beyond the early game.
Yeah, so far the gold lead has been same old. Not really growing anywhere crazy at this point, as Jeskla once more being left alone because Wisdom just loves to roam and hang around everyone but his AD carry. That's kind of a thing for them. They ignore Jeskla because they know he can play it safely most of the time. They don't have to worry about him. But sometimes they sell him quite a bit. But it's okay so far as Random manages to pick up the first turret. And Rebel obviously able to pick up some of his own jungle here, as the Equalizer again has been used to thin out the wave a little bit. So that
fine.
should be okay.
At this point in the game, there's no worries. We're just using that ulti to clear out waves, make sure you're not going to get dove. He had a couple more friends in the area, did Vanor, than the previous attempted dive, but still just doesn't want to get caught out in this situation. Not right before we're going to have that Rift Herald spawning. We've got 3 minutes until the next Drake is coming through, and so far, so good for the Prime League 3 seed. And if they are able to pick themselves up, even just one win here, but especially if they're able to take the series versus Los Ratones, that really puts a lot of extra stock right here. Oh, hang on, Nemi. Oh, boy. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh, indeed. He does have the Spirit Rush, but he's not
dead.
rushing anywhere. He is just dead. And this is also an important factor, I would say. Wisdom and Rebel struggled very hard when we look back at Winter Split and Prime League as well. They just weren't on the same page. It just looked very desynced. And they found ways to get it together, if you want to put it that way. And as long as they're working on the same page, they find picks like that every now and then, as we're watching another fight unfold here in the river, because Shelly is up and Shelly wants some attention by either of these teams. Los Ratones kind of have to step away a little bit there at the numbers disadvantage. Velia trying to move over the wall, doesn't manage to pick up the smite, and therefore Rebel with the Eye of the Herald. They're not really losing out too much on the map here, Kaufland, so I think it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, Los Ratones, they teleport Nemesis into the mid lane. Baus sprints up the river to attempt to get over to this fight quickly enough, but Los Ratones, they're just off on the recall. The macro not really working out for them in that situation. And Kaufland, they find themselves the exact moment that they needed to be able to head on up towards that Rift Tower to pick it up for themselves. And without losing anything, that means you're pretty much playing with house money on this Herald. We'll see how they're going to be able to use it. It would be really nice for them to be able to unlock that mid lane tier 1. It really helps, especially versus champions like the Galio, like the Neferi and Ari, who want to roam around a lot, really get involved across a lot of lanes.
Oh god, they're doing it again.
Yeah, but Velia is here, and you've got other members of Los Ratones on the way too.
Venua's just trying to zone them away. They managed to pick up this turret. Now Nemesis has to be a bit careful, uses the ultimate to disengage here.
Oh, the TP
but now
behind.
with Drowny in the area, they're looking to go for this team fight. Very important as their turret has been put down, as the Equalizer's coming out as well as the Glacier Fisher, but they're moving in, they're moving forward. The turret trying to do some work for them as Wisdom has to flash out, but Venur ends up going down. And Los Ratones, they are so in this game.
Yeah, they managed to get that map rotation off beautifully. Yes, Nemesis had used that TP to move up towards that mid lane play, but Baus had not and is able to get into the backline on that one. Even through that Azir Sundisk, it really doesn't matter. We do see the Drift Herald go down into the mid lane and a jump onto Crowny. Oh, is he just dead? Oh, okay.
Oh, he has to flash and barrier, so no suns left for him as they're looking for a catch. Now Rebel flashing out Jessica again. Sold, that was interesting. But everyone stays alive, so I'm just gonna take it as a win for both of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're able to take down that mid lane tier 1 tower, as we were talking about before that top lane dive so rudely interrupted us, so important to be able to play around. Jessica currently getting hunted a little bit, but he's got both the E and the flash available to him at this point. And the big thing in that previous fight with Revelia, still had the E for himself, still had the Eviscerate. So annoying to try to kill an Neferi who could just go untargetable, jump up into the air all of a sudden, reset that tower aggro as well. It is incredibly frustrating, but another fight. This would be soul point right here for Los Ratones if they can get it.
Yeah, and it looks like it because Random only now joining the fight. They have to look for some positioning. Tesla using the ultimate, but very nicely shielded here by Reckless as Crowny is looking to fire out, but they are zoning them pretty well. Wisdom now in, the Equalizer coming out, and they're trying to go for it, and everyone just steals the Drake! They actually steal the Drake as Ramble now has to run for the hills. Important ultimate coming out here from Random as he has to dash forward. They're giving up some kills, but they pick up the Drake, and I think overall, that was more important than winning the fight, because you want to deny that early soul point here.
Yeah, I mean, being on soul point for Los Ratones right here at 18 minutes into the game would have really accelerated things, really taken away from that late game scaling you want to be able to come through for your Azir. You want to get as many items onto your Ezreal as well. So the game's slowing down just a little bit. You buy yourself 5 extra minutes at least to play this game out. Really good steal from Rabble. The fact that the deaths go through isn't the end of the world because there's no real turnaround from Los Ratones. They can't turn the fact that they've now got a 5v3 into any towers, into any real structure damage at all. And so, more than happy with that one. Still, I feel like you're quite lucky to get away with that one. You really should have been to that fight a lot earlier as Kaufland. And the fact that they weren't, the fact that they were having to walk in to the Rats is why they lost so many members on the end of that team fight.
Damn, it's really a moment for them to take a deep breath. I think both of these teams have to stay on top of their game here as the gold is almost dead even. Random obviously trying to push forward, and I'm still waiting for that moment when Baus will run down a side lane and suddenly someone realizes, oh wait, we're losing out a lot. It's definitely something to worry about as Nemesis trying to pick up a turret here in top lane, pushing in the wave a little further. The Hangry Knights finding a way to deny as much as possible. In all honesty, that last team fight definitely took down the gold lead to literally nothing. So Los Ratones, they are showing up right now. And Kaufland need to find a way to pick up where they left off before that fight even started.
We were talking about how Los Ratones wanted to find themselves picks before fights, but they were more than happy to just play that one as a straight-up 5v5 team fight. I think part of the problem was that Wisdom, when he went in already on quite low health, had taken a lot of poke damage from a couple of different sources. Crowny going to be the main offender in that situation. And because of that, he jumps in, instantly dies, and then that's a ton of your front line just evaporated. It just goes immediately. That's the thing, right? You've drafted yourself a composition with one tank, and that is going to be your supports. Supports, as much as they can get tanky eventually, they just don't have the same level of gold income, so you're going to be very reliant on him being in good spots, using that ultimate effectively, especially when this Under Sky only just comes through here for Rabbit. He's now going to be able to be a little bit tankier, a little bit more of a frontliner for them. This should make the fights a bit easier.
Why are you hitting Reckless here? He has the door up in his face. You're not going to do anything. If anything, you're getting caught out here as, okay, Colin comes through, but that headbutt was huge. But now with the TPs coming in, there is a bit of a numbers advantage for the moment here for Los Ratones as they're putting out so much damage. Glacier Fisher from Reckless also doing the work. And now they have to find a way to get out of this. Kaufland really caught in a bad situation here. Not easy to position when you're fighting inside the jungle. Random trying to make his way underneath the turret, and Los Ratones, they can turn their eyes towards a potential Atakan if they want to. There's not much more on the map that you can play for here, but Atakan and possibly a turret would be huge, and this is the first time that they can really secure themselves a gold lead here with this 1.2k. As Kaufland really have to find a way to either deny this Atakan or at least get a catch out of this as Baus looking to go in. They're taking their side away from the Atakan, moving back in to play the fight as good as they can. And Venur sadly being caught out here. Can't do anything. It was a bit of a, you know, try for a hero play here from the side of Kaufland. I don't think there was a way for them to deny this. But Los Ratones, they show up when it matters, and they prove why they are never to be underestimated.
Oh man, I mean, hey, Kaufland, they're not going to be the best team or the first team to get baited in by Baus, thinking they can get a pick onto this guy. Still has the flash available, is just bringing people a little bit too far forwards. You know, or like a really unfortunate, especially because I think Kaufland did a really good job for themselves in the early game. They were able to put themselves into a decent spot, had a small gold lead, never were really able to extend it out too far, but at least we're keeping things even, and with a composition that scales as well as theirs does, that was absolutely fine. But unfortunately, these team fights are just going the way of Los Ratones, and they always were. They've got a good team for that. They've got more tanky members, so much extra survivability with all of the attacks. One Wisdom is just getting shredded through. He's got the locket, and that's about it. And unfortunately for the Alistair, that means popping the ulti, and you are now barely useful in this upcoming fight.
Yeah, he definitely has to be careful. Wisdom, obviously one of the most important engage tools on the side of Kaufland with the headbutt. But it looks as if Kaufland are just going to give up this Drake. They don't want to force this soul point away from Los Ratones. Instead, they're looking to push out waves. You can see both Random and Venu moving up towards topside, looking to find something there, maybe take away 1 or 2 camps also from Valia. Because we've talked about it plenty, this Nefiri, once she gets a few kills on the board, is going to be very, very dangerous. And with 2 kills, and now obviously also a major lead when it comes to just gold, she will be very comfortable.
Putting themselves into a very good spot for themselves at this point. Watch Nemesis just be able to take down this tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. Gets himself a good injection of gold. 5, 1, and 3. 3 items, including that 10-stack Medjais at this point, is in a very strong position. Reckless gets a little bit caught out here, but survivability of Reckless is something he is renowned for at this point. Is just able to jump back to his team. And now the remaining members of Los Ratones, they are going to step up, potentially looking for a little bit of a collapse right here. Crowny on a bit of a flank, but they don't really have any deep TP wards, and there is still a tower that you can fall back to right here as Kaufland. But it is pretty low if anything too explosive wants to happen. For right now, it's just going to be mid-priority games. Baus,
oh
yeah,
god, Random
chilling.
missing that ultimate is probably the worst thing I've seen today, and I've watched other games, but oh, okay, well, I guess I have to take it. As Reckless again stepping up to save Nemesis here on the side, because Jaskla, he has to try and poke a little bit. That's pretty much all he can do at this point. He has to find the positioning to actually play this front to back as the charm hits onto Rebel, and he's just deleted from the map. Baus might be picked up here, but he manages to stay alive for a long time. They have to invest a whole lot of time in order to make this play happen, as Wisdom trying to push them into the wall. TP's coming in, but I'm not sure you still can fight this. You're 2 members down in this scenario. They have to go for a few of these Hail Mary plays. They need to find their footing back, get a catch here and there. But this just gives Los Ratones the opportunity to possibly even turn towards Baron if they want to. Instead, they're looking to go for these backports, come back in full health, and possibly then look to take the next major objective of the map.
A ton of gold to spend right here as Los Ratones head back to base. Velia potentially looking to just get a kill right here onto Random. No flash, no ulti. Does have a tower available to him and a decent amount of damage with that Leandries and Nash's Tooth. So it is at least going to be able to survive. But like you said, the Baron going to be the next thing that these teams are thinking about going towards. The objective so far hasn't been started up. I did wonder if Los Ratones wanted to turn around and go for it straight away. I think that's why Kaufland felt like they needed to re-engage that fight and at least try to make something happen. I was wondering as well, with that recall, if Random was going to be able to complete that death cap that he's working towards. Unfortunately not, he just grabs himself some tier 1 boots. So unfortunately, this is still not going to be dealing the big damage that Kaufland are really going to need him to.
Definitely. In general, I gotta say, Random having a bit of a rougher game, but it was clear that this team will probably struggle a lot harder on an international stage again. They haven't really showed up in the way they wanted to in the first place, and now they're looking how far they can go here in this tournament as
Boy.
with Nuers just leaving the map. He wants to go on a quick little trip to the base, use the equalizer, try to minimize the wave there a little bit, but this should give Los Ratones another angle to possibly turn towards that Baron, because Venur extremely important, not only for the damage output, but also just for the safety of Kaufland Hangry Knights. He is that player for them who makes a lot of things happen.
Yeah, Baron now going to be started up right here by Los Ratones. Only Velia hitting onto it, but to be honest, the dog doing more than enough with those 3 items in back pocket to at least make the members of Kaufland react, respond. That was a little bit of a, hey, are you watching your screen check? You know, do you have vision? Because if you just don't respond, Velia can take that one eventually. He'll roam a couple members over. Luckily, Prime League, they have plugged monitors in. They are looking at the game. That does definitely help.
Thank
Now we're going
God.
to have a really interesting decision, right? Where Baron up and available, something you potentially want to be playing around. Same, though, for the Dragon. 40 seconds until that one's going to be available, and it is Soul for Los Ratones if they can grab it.
Well, let's see. It looks as if Velia is turning his sight towards the Baron first. Kaufland are now looking to position themselves for a possible Drake fight, but it is Neferi with 3 kills. I think he is able to do a lot of work there by himself, no biggie. So we're now moving to see if there's a next team fight maybe popping off, but both Nemesis and Reckless are doing a good job at zoning Kaufland away. Faust as well going to trap them from behind a little bit as the Baron goes down. Mostly soloed by Velia if you want it that way, and now Kaufland have to look to find their way towards this next Drake. Not even sure if Los Ratones really want to go for it. They could just use their Baron buff and go, because Kaufland is still so many Drakes down, but in the end it's the Soul, and you surely don't want to give that one up. Velia looking to steal away some camps from Rebel here as well.
Boy.
Now Kaufland not in the worst position. They find a very nice engage with Wisdom Equalizer as well. Use also the Glacier Fisher doing a lot of work, but now Wisdom caught out once more. Just a little too far forward here. And with Baus coming over the wall, putting even more zoning into the face of Kaufland Hangry Knights, they have to take a step back. They are at a numbers disadvantage as Nemesis is just doing so much work here. Holy cow, Venur probably dying as the hero's entrance comes down. And now they're split apart, random in a 1v2, trying to pick up a kill whilst Crowny just dominates him, and it's the shutdown in the end, but at what cost? You're getting aced, Venur is back on the map, but there's nothing he can do. They have the Baron buff, and they will have the Soul, and they will look to push their waves as close to the enemy base as they can.
It was the TP out of Venor that able to keep him alive, but barely. Was so low. Baus playing that fight really well, just buying so much space for his team, using that hero's entrance as well to make sure that Nemesis survives throughout that fight. And Nemesis really was on one, landed a couple of key charms in that one. One initially onto Venor that just signals the go button right here for Los Ratones, and then a second one to be able to confirm one of the kills. Now he's got those 3 items already completed, death cap on the way, and 25 stacks on the Medjais. Nemesis is absolutely smurfing right now on Pride League 3 seed, and boy is it good to see.
I mean, let's be real here for a second. As much as I would like Prime League to perform well, Los Ratones are the better team. They are the better team. They have always been the better team. Banter is banter, of course. But this should be a win for Los Ratones. If they do actually end up losing against Kaufland, that would be disaster for them.
I think even losing a single game would be something they would be pretty annoyed about. Especially to the Prime League 3 seed, right? You go the distance in a best of 5 versus Prime League 1 seed. It's respectable. But losing to Prime League number 3 seed, yeah, not what you're going to be looking for at all. And Los Ratones, they put themselves in a great position to be able to close that one out. Through 8,000 gold, the advantage they've got at the moment. They just need to cross their T's, dot their I's, and push this one through for the end.
Look, we're always talking about, oh, there's a possibility for a throw. I don't see Los Ratones throwing that away. They are just too coordinated. They have a really good game plan here. They have waited for that big deciding fight in order to really show up. They gave Kaufland some space in the early game, as maybe now they're giving over a pick, but Velia again just goes untargetable. He's putting the dogs in the face of Rebel, who has to try and fight them off. And now 4 members strong, they're looking to push it to the space with the Glacier Fisher into charm. Oh my god, it's beautiful. Los Ratones just putting out some beautiful League of Legends here as they're looking to end this game right here, right now. Call of the Pack coming through. It's a double kill for Velia. They're looking for more heroes entrance. They are getting cocky. They want to fight this. They want the ace. It's the triple kill. Can he go from the quarter or even the meta?
Baus.
This is stolen. Baus wants his piece of cake in this. And they are looking to end the game. Wave coming in. Turrets going down. And Kaufland have to watch while it all happens. The Prime League 3rd seed can't do anything. And this game one, rightfully so, goes over to the NLC seed number 1 to Los Ratones, the defending champions.
The defending champions getting the expected result right here up against Kaufland. The early game was pretty fun though. There were a couple of moments where I was like, hey, maybe they're beginning to do this. Maybe they're beginning to put something together.